everyone. Welcome to an Americans for Limited Government live stream. I'm Catherine Mortensen, and Rick Manning is with us today, the president of Americans for Limited Government. And in case you are curious why we're talking about Dan Bongino for 2 days in a row, our broadcast yesterday had some technical difficulties, which we think we have worked out. So I first of all want to apologize for anyone who watched yesterday's live stream or saw it in a recorded version. We did have some audio feedback, so my apologies. And it sounds from just my test with you right now that we have eliminated the feedback that we experienced yesterday. So welcome, and thank you for being with us. So what we want to talk to you about today, Dan Bongino, big-time radio star, is threatening to walk off the job to leave his partnership with Cumulus over their vaccine mandates. Rick, you are a good friend of Dan's. Tell us what's going on. Some people are hearing this story, but some people thought that he was under the threat of losing his job or he was getting fired somehow. But what's the real story here?
Well, what's happening is Dan is drawing a line in the sand. Cumulus has come up with a vaccine mandate for all employees at Cumulus. Dan's saying that that's not a value, that's not a shared value that I have. He basically said, I'm not into telling somebody whether they should get a vaccine or not. And I don't think the company should be. And we are in a partnership, and the partnership's out of alignment because you're trying to do something that is directly counter to my philosophical principles. And so he's basically telling Cumulus that they can have a vaccine mandate or they can have Dan Bongino on the air, but they can't have both.
All right, thank you, Rick. And let's go ahead and play a short clip of a Bongino video that he put together on his podcast talking about the situation.
Where I'm on their airwaves, you're listening to me on their airwaves. They're standing by a principle. So we find ourselves in this situation right here, where I'm on their airwaves, you're listening to me on their airwaves. They're standing by a principle that's not mine. A principle it goes entirely against my ethos of freedom and liberty. And we're at a loggerheads. So I'll be keeping you updated on that situation day by day. Let you know what I'm doing. And as I said, I don't see this going forward as a workable arrangement. Puts me kind of in a spot, doesn't it? Puts them kind of in a spot too. We both can't be in that spot at the same time. You can have me, or you can have the mandate. But you can't have both of us.
All right, sorry about that. I just clipped off the end of the video. But Bongino was saying you can have me, you can have the mandate, but you can't have both. Rick, what is your reaction to this? Because this is sort of a real roll of the dice for Bongino, isn't it?
Well, ultimately, Dan has always been somebody who has stood on principle. And he's made a decision that he's not going to stop standing on principle just because he has an audience, a nationwide audience on every single day. And he doesn't work for Cumulus. He's a contractor. And so he's basically telling him, listen, you want me and the audience that listens to me. You can't expect me to sit back and for this company and help you make money from people who are diametrically opposed to a policy you are imposing on your employees. And something that I've just learned is, this is already happening in terms of Cumulus getting rid of radio hosts. In Colorado Springs, Tron Simpson is, I just read on Facebook that he is no longer a radio host for Cumulus because he did not get the jab. And so right now, people are being purged out of Cumulus. Radio talk show hosts are being purged out of Cumulus because they did not get the vaccine. And Dan is standing up and saying that's wrong. And you don't get to do that and then benefit from me being on your airwaves. And Cumulus is going to make a decision about what they want to do about that. But ultimately, I think Cumulus needs to be hearing from a lot of the people who want to stand with Dan And they need to be hearing really loudly from people. And that's why we put up a take action, allowing people to directly communicate with the CEO of Cumulus, directly communicate with the president of operations of Cumulus, their investor relations department, their human relations department, and their general contact number. Because ultimately, the people who are making this decision need to understand that the listeners who actually are the ones who advertisers pay to be able to reach and buy their products, that the listeners are saying, no, we want we're standing with Dan, we're standing against vaccine mandates, and we're urging Cumulus to behave like a company that believes individuals have freedom, rather than like a company that Joe Biden can be very proud of. And they don't get, once again, just as Dan said, he's saying you can't have both. Well, I would argue they can't have the listeners out there and be a company that's directly antithetical to those listeners' beliefs. And now is an opportunity for the people to stand up and tell Cumulus that they're standing with Dan and to end the vaccine mandate within their own company.
So, Rick, we have LaDonna says Dan should get his own studio. I'll let you explain that, or I can explain it. I have a background in radio. So
well, Dan does have his own studio. Yeah. That's the key. Dan operates out of his home. He's not sitting in a radio station. He's not around anybody else but his own paid producer and his own paid the people who are in the studio who are with him for his podcast as well as for his show. So it's not like he's going into a Cumulus studio. He is doing it from his own home studio.
Right. So, all right. Thank you very much, LaDonna, for putting that up. And then let's see. Then I guess it's LaDonna again. We could team up with M870 or Glenn Beck or something like that. I'm not really sure what M870 is. Are you familiar with that, Rick?
Well, I can tell you in terms of teaming up, we are a number of conservative leaders. I've talked to them last night and today about this, and they are pushing this effort pretty hard through various conservative circles. This is something that I know that a number of radio talk show hosts have been talked to directly about it and asked what they're going to do. And so it is this is a movement that is spreading pretty rapidly. And in terms of the Glenn Beck, one of the people who I communicate regularly with is the CEO of the conservative, the new corporation that Mark Levin and Glenn Beck helped form, and so the guy who's the CEO of that is well aware of this, and we're attempting to get them to push it as well.
So again, the way our viewers, our supporters can get involved is in the comments section below, in the description on this video, there's a link to a take action item where you can click, just send an email. It's already written. You just put your name to it and it goes to the CEOs, the C-suite, all the folks at Cumulus Media, who are the ones with this corporate vaccine mandate. And that's what Dan Bongino is standing up against. Now, Dan did say over his airwaves that because of pre-existing health issues he is vaccinated. So this isn't an issue of Dan Bongino not being vaccinated. This is him saying it should not be forced on anyone. So he's saying, look, I'm standing up for those people who work at Cumulus who are choosing not to be vaccinated and are being, threatened with job loss, or as Rick said, have already lost their jobs. So this is really a fight against these mandates, not the vaccine per se.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Also, I want to emphasize, I have not, even though I'm friends with Dan, I have not spoken to him about this. I don't want to put him into any position where he can be accused of running some kind of operation, grassroots operation on it, because he's not. He's unaware of what we're doing. He may be aware because he gets our emails, but he's unaware in terms of he's not involved in this in any way, shape, or form. He has not sanctioned this. This is something that on the outside, this is even a bigger fight than a fight around Dan Bongino. This is a fight of whether or not Cumulus, which has a number of conservative talk show radio hosts in their network, that whether Cumulus is going to start dictating content, whether Cumulus is going to start dictating the behavior and what people can talk about on their air. This is about basic freedom. And Cumulus controls a significant number of the radio stations across America. And as a result, they're not controlling, they own them. And as a result, this becomes the fact that they're taking this step that's contrary to the very ethos of the talk radio networks that they own. This is about trying to get Cumulus to understand that they have to be in alignment with the people who advertisers pay, who they make their profits from, and which is the conservative talk show listener. That's who they're actually operating against when they put these kind of vaccine mandates in their own corporate structure. And so this is not an unreasonable thing, but I do want to say, for all you Cumulus executives who are watching, Dan doesn't know anything about this. He's not been coordinated with. If you want to blame somebody for this, blame me. And you can cancel my talk show, my radio talk show, as soon as I get one.
All right, Rick, thank you. And I want to move next to just the broader issue of this whole vaccine rebellion. People all over the country, we've seen it obviously, Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines has backed down from their threat to fire employees. And there's a great video out of a Washington State trooper who signs off saying, look, this is my last day. And this is all related to him being forced out over these vaccine mandates. Let's take a look at this video.
After 22 years of serving the citizens of the state of Washington, being asked to leave because I am dirty. Numerous fatalities, injuries, I've worked sick, I've played sick. We buried lots of friends over these years. I'd like to thank you guys. I'd like to thank the citizens of Yakima County, as well as my fellow officers within the Valley. Without you guys, I wouldn't have been very successful, and you've kept me safe and got me home to my family every night. Thank you for that. Wish I could say more, but this is it. So, State 1034, this is the last time you'll hear me in a state patrol car. And Jay Inslee can kiss my ass.
So we're seeing this all over the country, Rick. I did a story yesterday in the Daily Torch that looked at the broader picture of these vaccine rebellion, as I was calling it. Let me pull up that screen. Just stand by. We can take a look at what my story was yesterday. Because this really is a bigger issue than just, Dan Bongino or a Washington State.
Well, that'd be our merch store, so that's not it.
Let's see if I can get that. All right. I'll try that again. Stand by.
And Catherine, you're right. It is much bigger. This is what we're seeing across America. Is we're seeing people say to their employer, "Listen, if you're going to fire me or threaten to fire me because I'm making a personal health choice, if you're going to threaten to fire me over that, then I'm going to deny you my services. I'm going to sit there and I'm not going on strike. I'm just going to say, I've got so much sick leave, and if you're going to fire me in 3 weeks, then I should be taking my sick leave because you're not going to pay me for it afterwards." And the natural consequence of this is the nation's getting a preview of what will happen if they actually go through with firing people based on the vaccine mandate. They're getting a preview of what's going to happen, the disruption that happens when you lose 10% of your people not working on the docks, not unloading those cargo ships that are backed up in the Pacific Ocean. You're getting a preview of what happens when the airlines are suddenly short pilots and flight attendants and people on the ground to gas up the planes and the mechanics. So you're getting a preview of what happens when a police force suddenly discovers they've got 10% fewer police officers because of the government firing those police officers or making them make a choice. And those police officers saying, "No, I'm not going to do this."
Rick, I want to just quote from the CEO of Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian. He told Fox Business News a few days ago, you can work collaboratively with your people, trusting your people to make the right decisions, respecting their decisions, and not forcing them over the loss of their job. So that's the Delta CEO saying he's not going to fire employees. He's going to work with them and allowing them, trusting them and respecting their decisions. I think that's what we need to see more of in the country. And that's exactly the opposite of what we are seeing and hearing from Joe Biden and this White House.
And it's exactly the opposite of what they're trying to coerce businesses into doing. And let's get to the root of this. A lot of these businesses are reacting to the OSHA mandate. And first of all, the Delta CEO is exactly right. It's the exact stand that every single CEO should take. But let's get to the root of what the coercion is. The coercion is very simple. Joe Biden is saying, we're going to unleash OSHA on you if you have more than 100 employees. And if you have more than 100 employees, you have to have everybody vaccinated. This is an emergency order. It has not been put into a regulatory, it has not approved regulation. The emergency regulation is currently at the Office of Management Budget for review, at which point, sometime in the next month, they'll likely do a temporary final reg. But the process that they're going to have to go through after that is they're going to have to go and get comments. They're going to have to go and there's a whole long regulatory process that they have to legally go through. And the fact is, they will also face legal challenges on the constitutionality of it. And let me just I'm not a constitutional lawyer, and I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express, but this is what seems reasonable. I did work at the Labor Department. I do know that OSHA, the Occupational Safety Hazard Administration, is authorized to have a national presence based upon the Commerce Clause in the U.S. Constitution. I do know that the Roberts Obamacare decision that we all hated had one part that we really liked, and that was Roberts said in that decision that you cannot use the Commerce Clause to compel people to take a health action, to compel people to buy health insurance. And so he rejected the use of the Commerce Clause for forcing people to take an action based on health. What that means is very simple. It means under the Obamacare decision, this action by Joe Biden through the Labor Department's OSHA is clearly on its face unconstitutional. Now, I can't guess how John Roberts is going to write his next decision. I can't guess how 5 Supreme Court justices are what they're going to do. What I can tell you is that there is a high probability that with the current makeup of the court, that the Biden emergency mandate will not stand. And given that, any company that voluntarily follows it, rather than says, I'm not going to follow it until it's actually constitutional, it's actually something I have to follow, is making the absolute wrong decision. They're punishing people without any legal cause. And I would argue that many of them may become liable because they do that. They will become liable to lawsuits by those employees who have been dismissed based upon premature action on a regulation that's found to be unconstitutional. In any other circumstance, those corporations would hold off and hold off and hold off. And let me just be absolutely clear. All of those corporations are hurting for employees. There is a labor shortage, and it's because a lot of labor is sitting on the sidelines and not choosing to work. But that labor shortage will be exacerbated. We'll have fewer police officers, fewer teachers, fewer healthcare workers, fewer airline pilots, fewer people who deliver our Grubhub. We're going to have fewer people throughout the entire system because we're going to exclude 10% of the population who say, I will not get this vaccine. And by doing that, we are going to have a real economic dislocation. And fortunately, the Southwest pilots showed us what was ahead by their actions last week, which caused Southwest Airlines and later Delta to come to their senses. So this is a big deal. It's a big deal. And so what we're doing here with Cumulus, it matters. It matters in terms of talk radio, but it also matters in terms of telling corporations that their customers are their bosses, their shareholders are their bosses, not Joe Biden.
And thank you, Rick. I want to switch gears just a minute. Actually, to help us fund this fight against big government, Americans for Limited Government has launched a merchandise store, or a merch store, where we're selling all sorts of awesome products that promote freedom, liberty, and a lot of them have logos of our favorite cartoonist, AF Bronco. Let me pull up a screen. Stand by and we'll let you see what our merch store looks like, because we would love for you to go there, check it out, get some things for your family and friends for Christmas. This is called the Save America Collection. And let's see what we've got. We've got your Mean Tweets 2024 t-shirts. Here's an example of a puzzle that we have using AF Bronco cartoons. We have canvas prints that you can hang in an office or at home, which more and more these days is actually the same place. That's just a little bit of what we have, but we're adding stuff each day. There's some example of some of the canvas art using AF Bronco cartoons. And Rick, why don't you tell us?
We include, it's got mugs with Tony Tunes on them. It has Americans for Limited Government logoed wear. It has hats, Let's Go Brandon hats, and other items with Let's Go Brandon on it. The best seller right now is the Let's Go Brandon hat. It's red and looks and has the is
let
the
me
Make
pull
America
that
Great
up.
Again hat. Like, it looks a lot like the Make America Great Again hat. And it's so far our best seller. And I want to emphasize that the products in the ALG store are made in the United States. So we make certain that they're made here in America. The products in the ALG store, the profits go to fight the fight for freedom. And so the profits aren't going into somebody's pocket who's basically just putting up a merch store as a way to make a business, make a living. The profits from this go directly into the ALG, Americans for Limited Government nonprofit, the C4, that does things like puts up the Stand With Dan campaign, that puts ads, and we're putting ads up right now on Facebook for the Stand With Dan campaign, so we can influence what's happening in America in a meaningful way. We don't just do the vaccine mandate, we do a lot of other issues, and where we go after Congress, where we go after the administration, where we go after local government and state governments, and they all are designed to hit issues that hit to the core of the attack on America and on American greatness. And so when you buy a Let's Go Brandon hat, when you buy a Tony Toon print, when you buy a puzzle, a 1,000-piece puzzle that's of a Tony Toon, of a AF Bronco tune, those are things, that profit is going to fight the fight for freedom. So you're not only giving a great gift, you're not only giving an American-made gift, which means that Americans working to put it together, you're giving a gift that actually promotes freedom. Not just through the message it has on it, but through the dollars it generates to be able to promote freedom from Americans for Limited Government. So it is really this is an endeavor that we've just started, and we're brand new at it. We're figuring it out, but I'm pretty confident that when you get the products, you're going to love them, and you're going to want to give your friends a puzzle. Maybe it's a really easy gift for Christmas. You're going to want to give a hat, Let's Go Brandon hat, or Americans for Limited Government hat. You're going to want to give a coffee mug and some coffee mugs and some other things, because ultimately, we're in the fight for freedom, but we're also, we want to have some fun with it, and we really think people enjoy this, and we want to employ Americans in the process. So it's a win-win-win, and we hope that you'll enjoy it. You'll go to the merch store, and if you see something you like, buy it. And if you don't, well, don't diss it, but share it with friends. Share it with friends. Get the word around, because the more people who see this, the more people get a chance to participate, the better chance, the more money exists for the fight for freedom. And ultimately, that's what this is about. We're not making an extra dime off of this. That every single dollar goes to the fight for freedom. That every bit of profit goes to that. We're not a shareholder company. We are a nonprofit, and this is just us trying to find another way to generate the resources for this enormous fight we have. This enormous fight we have, and we just appreciate you guys checking it out. And if you're so inclined, buying it, I think you'll find you really like it.
All right. Thank you, Rick. And you can see the address there on the screen. It's getliberty.org/merch, MERCH. We hope that you will check it out. And my final plug for our merch store is this is great stuff for Christmas gifts. And Christmas buying season is right now. We're all aware of the supply chain problems, mostly or due to or largely due to problems in California with their union legislation, which has made it hard to get trucks to those ports. Again, I don't want to get off on a side issue, but we do have global supply chain problems. If you want to get something for someone for Christmas, check out our merch store now. And as Rick said, everything there is made in America.
Very good. That's exactly right. And
all right.
I just want to thank everybody out there. Okay, just thank you for support, for your support. Thank you for getting involved in the Stand with Dan campaign, and thank you for going to the merch store. And folks, the key to this is every single person who's watching this has 20 to 100 people who who would enjoy seeing this, who would want to stand with Dan, who would be interested in the merchandise store. So what we're asking you to do is become an advocate by sharing it with your friends. Because when you share this kind of stuff with your friends, you're inviting them to join the team, to become part of the cause. And that's how we're going to reach America. We're going to reach America one person's circle of friends at a time. And as we grow, and we're about 100,000 right now, as we grow, we will find that we're reaching hundreds of thousands, millions of people every time we send something out. And that will be because you share this stuff on Facebook or through email or Twitter or Parler or Rumble, and or Getter. You're just sharing it with people, and suddenly it becomes a thing. So let's make this a thing. Let's make it a thing. Let's grow this thing. Let's grow this movement, and let's win. That's all I've got. I just appreciate all you're doing, and just want to say thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time on an Americans for Limited government live stream. Have a great day.